So today I was searching how much money should you have saved by each age. I thought it might be an interesting video because if you like my perspectives on maybe the consumer side, you might like my perspectives on sort of the financial side. I guess it's all sort of the same, like lifestyle, how much money you're gonna have. And this article from Ally Bank popped up and I thought it was really interesting because I think every single dollar amount is so exceptionally low. And I think that it's pretty almost disappointing how low they have the bar set for everybody. So I wanted to speak to you guys because I know most of the people that watch my videos are between the ages of 18 and 35. So you definitely have a lot more time than maybe somebody who's 50, 60, 70 years old. But there's always time to get better with money. There's no time like the present to get better with money because as soon as you don't do it, it's too late. All right. So the article, so they have it split up into 4 different parts on the article, and I'll link it down below. Emergencies, a comfortable retirement, pursuing your dreams, and prioritizing your goals. Dreams being a new house and your child's college education. So how much money should you have saved? They break it down by decade, and I think this is really good. This is an emergency fund. So a savings account, in my opinion, you shouldn't be really stockpiling cash unless you're purchasing a house or a large purchase like a car anytime in the future. Most of the time, you should just be having all your money going towards some type of investment as long as you're out of debt. That's how I'm doing it at the moment, and that's how I believe you should do it as well. Obviously, I'm 25, 26 years old. My mistakes have been on the more debt side, consumer debt side. So this side of it is kind of like a little bit newer to me because I've never really had the opportunity to invest. And I think that all this stuff is so interesting because this is where you go from being a thousandaire to a millionaire. I think that's really cool. So they have the ideal emergency fund by age. By age 30, they think anywhere from $14,000 to $28,000. I think that that's pretty fair. They think that the average 25 to 34-year-old spends $4,705 each month. That's high. Obviously, I know that there's New York and California and Ohio where I live. We don't spend nearly that kind of money, but also I would maybe suggest consider moving to a place like that. If you could, maybe move to a place that's a little bit cheaper instead of living in the big city. Like if I were to move to downtown Columbus, it would be significantly more expensive than to live in the city that I currently live in, which is kind of out in the sticks. So that's just, obviously not everything's about money, but some things are about money. They all sort of affect each other. Next, by age 40, you should have $17,000 to $35,000. This is when you should have like a young child. Age 50, $18,000 to $37,000. Age 60, this is when it starts going down a little bit because you're no longer responsible for 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. You're sort of at the point now where all of your children have left the house if you plan on having children. This is $16,000 to $33,000. At age 70, you're going to want to have $14,000 to $28,000. At age 80, $10,000 to $21,000. I think all these numbers are pretty fair. I don't have any problems with any of them. I think it's good to have cash. It's good in case an emergency pops up. I might say that some of these are a little bit high, like $28,000 at age 30 if it's just you and a significant other, just you by yourself, that's high. My wife and I are planning on keeping about $15,000 to $20,000 in cash, depending on, if something happened just for an emergency fund. That's like our savings emergency fund, never touch it, because I don't want to have too much money that's just losing value every single year. The Fed clocks interest or inflation at 2%, but we all know that that's going to be going up a lot more in the next few years, probably closer to 5, 6, 7, 8%. So your money is losing spending power by just sitting in the bank, 5% annually, 2% annually, whatever it may be. So it's worth less than what it was at the time you put it in there. So it's definitely not something you want to have a ton of just sitting there because it's just losing value every single month. And I wanted to comment a little bit on the average person, how much they spend. Obviously, this is tough because I don't know your situation, where you live, how you live, so on and so forth. But it says the average 25 to 34-year-old spends $4,700 a month on both essentials and not essentials, including rent and mortgage. My wife and I, as a couple, spend $3,200 a month on all of our rent, essentials, and all that stuff. And we're 2 people and not just one. So if you're spending $4,700 a month, you're spending way too much. And if your city that you live in is very expensive, consider moving to a cheaper city like where I was talking about where I live, maybe a little bit more rural. Obviously, friends, family, I get it. It's hard to move. I've moved once and I didn't like it. So it's hard for me to push something like that because I don't truly believe in it. Next, they're going to talk about the retirement savings, and this is where I think they really mess up and have the bar way too low for people, because it's kind of disappointing what they kind of expect out of Americans. They say to have a general rule of investing 15% of your money towards retirement, which is really good, which is exactly what I'm planning on doing. Although I will invest far more than just 15%, but the lowest I'll ever go is 15%. And obviously with our budget and everything, we're able to invest closer to 50% if we wanted to right now, but we're planning on purchasing a home in the next 2 years. So we're going to be stockpiling cash while also investing just so we get the match from work. I think that's crucial, especially as young as we are. The more money we can invest now, the more it has time to just double and double and grow and grow and grow. And compounding interest rate is your friend. So they have the ideal savings for retirement by age. At age 30, they only expect you to have about 1 times your income, and the US median income is $61,000. To only have $61,000 in your retirement at age 30, I don't think it's like terrible, but it's far too low. I'm planning on having significantly more than that. If I'm only at $61,000 by age 30, I've probably have done something wrong at this point. And then by age 40, they think 3 times your household income, which would be $185,000. At age 50, 5 times. You can sort of see the trend here. $309,000 every 5 years. It should basically be another multiple of your take home. And then at age 60, 7 times your income at only $433,000. That's obviously a ton of money, but at age 60, 65, 70, that's when people start retiring and considering retirement. And to only be going into retirement with $450,000 or $500,000, it's a ton of money. And I'm sitting here saying, oh, I'm going to have way more. I don't truly know if I'm going to have more, but I'm doing things. So if I do everything right, I will have more than just $500,000 going into retirement. So for me, that's where the bar is set really low at 60, 70, and 80 years old. To only be about $500,000, I think is low. That bar is a little bit too low. I think it should be significantly higher. In my opinion, I think by age 55 or 60, you should be trying to hit that $1 million mark. And if you don't, you probably purchase a home that was maybe a little bit too expensive, or you were just maybe wasting your money throughout your life, or you didn't have a high enough paying job. That's something I think I don't talk about enough on this channel. Is I talk about a million ways to save money, but if you're making $3,000 every single month, that's a total of $36,000 a year. No matter how cheap your expenses are, there is a baseline expense that has to be met to live. Even if it was like $1,000, you can only get that number to be so low, and that lower and lower and lower, it's finite. There's only a certain amount of dollars you can go lower. Whereas on the other end of it, the amount of money you can make on the top of your take-home income can basically grow infinitely. Obviously, you're not going to hit $27 billion. That's just unrealistic, but you could kind of grow that money almost infinitely in terms of what you're taking home. So if your take home is 36 at age 20, you should try to get it up to 42 by age 25, 50 by age 30, whatever it may be for you, whatever your thoughts and plans are. Because what it comes down to is not just how much you can spend, but also how much you're able to invest. And not just in terms of percentages, it's about how many dollars you're able to invest. If somebody's making $1 million a year and they only invest 10% of their take home, they're still investing $100,000 a year. They'll be millionaires in 10 years. They'll be millionaires long before that. But that's just sort of the idea here, that it's the dollar amount that's more important. So Dave Ramsey says it's getting a bigger shovel, whether that means picking up odd jobs to make some extra money. Obviously, I film lots of YouTube videos. These take a ton of time to make. This isn't a ton of money. It's like $100 a month that I make from the channel, but it's like $100 more that I could invest or could save towards a house that I wouldn't normally have. And then I also edit videos for another YouTuber on the side, and that's significantly more money. That's probably closer to $200 to $300 a month. And I edit videos for some of my friends sometimes and make music videos. That's an additional $100, $200. And that right there, we're talking about almost $500 additional dollars that I'm making on the side on top of my take-home income from my job. So that's where you can really make a huge jump, I think, is in terms of how much you're making. You can only spend so little. Life is finite, and you don't want to just live your whole life eating rice and beans and rice your entire life, or ramen noodles. You want to be able to enjoy a steak. You want to be able to enjoy the finer things. So if you can make more money, that'll allow you to be able to spend a tiny bit more on yourself, but also be able to invest far more. So that's my opinion about it. My anticipation for myself and my wife, the numbers we're going to hit based on the way we're going to be able to invest at a 7% annual return, which doesn't take into consideration if there's massive inflation or if the stock market crashes, obviously, but 7 years on an average of 30 years, it'll average out to be basically that. My wife and I are sort of anticipating that we'll become millionaires right before we turn 40 because of how much we're focusing on investing, because we know that that's the way you make money. You don't make money by just saving it and hoarding it and never spending it. You have to save your money and then put it towards an investment. Don't spend your money on the coffee because you could invest that money in the future. So that's the way we're planning on doing it. That's based on the math, that should be 100% doable. It's actually 38. That's the year we plan on doing it. But we don't have kids now, and so we're not 100% sure how much kids are going to cost. So this number could obviously be 45 or 55, whatever it may be. But we have a plan that we're going to definitely take action on, and it's an actionable plan. And we know our budget very well. We both know that we have good career paths in the future. So this is just if we no longer make another dollar for our entire lives. And obviously, if the inflation doesn't just completely kill the value of the dollar. So that's the way we plan on doing it. I think that that's important for people to understand. So when I'm sitting here saying, don't pull out debt, don't do this, I'm also backing it up on the back end. I don't buy anything with debt. We need another car right now, so we're saving up cash before we can get another car. We're not going to get a $45,000 car. We're probably going to get like a $15,000 car because that's a comfortable price point that we're both comfortable with affording. Finally, if we scroll down a little bit further, saving for celebrations, cars, kids, and more. If you're saving for a vacation, plan about $2,000 a person. New furniture is $8,000. A car, $20,000 to $55,000. A down payment on a home, $15,000 to $63,000. A wedding, $33,000, $34,000. College for your kids, anywhere from $35,000 to $203,000. Most of these numbers I think are pretty high at a vacation. That's probably pretty fair and accurate depending on the type of vacation you go on. If you go camping, you could save far more money than going all expenses paid cruise. New furniture, $8,000 is absurd. I built our couch. I'll show a picture of it here. I call it Mega Couch. It's a full-size bed and a twin bed, and I built it with my bare hands when I was building the basement. I thought it's super cool. And that cost us about $500 or $600 with most of the costs going towards the mattresses and then the pillows. But for $500, $600, we have a really comfy couch that we both really enjoy. It's not going to be our couch that we leave in our living room forever, but we're young. We know we could have this couch and be 100% fine. Our dogs absolutely love it. I love it. My wife loves it. It's probably the best thing I've ever made. So $8,000 is really high for new furniture. This is where I think people just trip up. $8,000, you don't need to spend $8,000 on new furniture. Again, Ally Bank's expectation for people is extremely low. For example, if I need a new dresser, the first place I'm going to check is Facebook Marketplace. Is there something out there that somebody's either giving away for free or giving away for $50, $60, $70, $80, $100 that is in either decent shape or just needs to be sanded and then repainted? That's nothing. Everybody could do that. And not only are you saving probably like $1,000, but it's a fun activity you get to do and you get to look at that new thing you created every single day. Every time you walk into your bedroom or you wake up in the morning, you see, I created that. That's the feelings that I enjoy. Plus, it's way cheaper. A new car, $20,000 to $55,000. That's pretty expensive. Cars probably, you could spend that kind of money on a car, but there are cheaper ways to buy cars. $20,000 to $55,000 seems like a little high. I think $20,000 is okay, but $55,000 for a car obviously depends on where you're at in life, but that's pretty high. I probably will buy a car for $55,000 in my lifetime, but it'll probably sting. I'll have to have a certain net worth before I decide to do that. I know my wife and I have talked about it. I would like to buy a Tesla. I think it's a cool car, but we determined that we need to have a net worth above $500,000 before we even consider doing that. And you don't get to have a net worth of $500,000 as young as we plan doing it by buying the Tesla, so we probably just won't end up buying it in the first place. Next is a down payment for a home. I think this number is low, $15,000 to $63,000. You want to hit at least 20% because of PMI. This private mortgage insurance, basically, it's something you pay each and every month. It's not a ton of money, but it's enough money where it's just a total waste because you bought too much house that you couldn't afford. You want to make sure you have at least 20% for your home. That's the reason my wife and I are going to wait about 2 years to buy our next home because we want to have more than 20% to put down. And it just makes everything a lot easier. If you could put down 50% on a home, you could get that home paid off in how many years? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And then you no longer have that payment. You could take that payment and just invest it. Invest that money and just let it grow, 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 grow. Next would be a wedding, $33,000. We just got married. Our wedding didn't cost this much. It was about $16,000, which is a ton of money, but it's a once in a lifetime thing. I hope it's I'm expecting it to be a once in a lifetime thing. So $33,000 is a little high. I would probably tell my daughter that $33,000 is too much on a wedding, depending on how inflation goes, but $16,000 was more than we really needed to spend on a wedding, and $33,000 is twice that. And then college for your kids, $35,000 to $203,000. This is tough. You probably don't want to put this in cash. You probably want to get a 529 and set that up when they're very young. That's what I'm going to do. When we have our first kid, I'm just going to start putting in about 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks a month, just in case I want to go to college. If they decide they don't want to go to college, I'm not going to be mad at them. I'm sure there's some type of massive penalty to take that money out. But if you can, obviously, if you have it budgeted and you have a plan for each and every single one of your dollars at the end of each month, and every time you get a paycheck, then $35,000, $203,000, that's probably very accurate. It'd probably be more in the future, especially if the government pays off some loans, as we talked about in a video earlier. So I think that that's something that's tough for the parent. I think that the parent should do the best that they can, but at the same time, the kid needs to really learn to take out that debt and handle that debt. That's kind of what I would have our kids do, but if I could pay for it, I probably would. There's no reason to put them in a hole financially for no reason. So that's what I think about this article. You're welcome to read it for yourself. I think it was a good read. I think there are definitely some things in there that are really helpful and really good. I do think they aim high on a lot of stuff. I think that the reason they aim high is because that's probably how most people do it. I'm telling you, there are cheaper ways to get around all of these things. Obviously, homes and stuff, they cost a certain amount of money depending on the area you want to live in. Cars, they cost a certain amount of money. You don't want a car that's breaking down every single day, especially if you're debt free. You should be able to afford a nicer car than that. But that's why you save. That's why you pay off the debt. That's why you don't get into debt. So that's what I think about this article. I would like to know you guys' opinions on what I said. Do I sound like a pompous jerk who has no idea about how life is going to hit him? But I'm fairly confident in what I believe. I just think that it's really important to make sure you're investing basically as soon as you possibly can, based on the growth I've seen and what I know from my parents. And then it's also really important to just make sure that each and every single month you have your dollars down to the dollar and you determine where they're going to go. Let's say it's $5,000 a month and you plan on investing $2,000 of that every single month. That's high. But if you just determine that's how much you invest, it doesn't have any wiggle room or anything, then that just becomes another bill to you. It's almost as powerful as having somebody looking over your shoulder saying that you have to do this. But the fun thing about that type of bill is that will make you tons of money in the future, whereas the other one just costs you tons of money. So you guys for watching the video. Let me know your guys' opinions in the comment section down below. I'm making lots of videos. I appreciate everyone sticking through them all. I'm sorry if sometimes I maybe repeat myself with regards to the iPhone. I'm just, I'm trying to make 30 videos a day, and I'm doing the absolute best I can. So I hope you guys enjoy the videos as best you can. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.